I'm Luke from Into Carry. I make a bunch of bags out of a bunch of waste materials. We teach a bunch of people how to do it too. And today I need myself a new bag. New year, new me. Love this one. I made it about 6 months ago and I decided to spend about 4 hours doing all of this seam stacking and paneling all of these scraps together, which, looks snazzy, but I really expected it to be a bit bigger. So lesson learned, always do a test pattern. I'm going to design a new pattern. The brief is needs to be a bit bigger. The inside lining for this is also upcycled upholstery, and every now and then there's like a wet towel or something that goes in there, so that's a bit yucky. So the lining is going to be all banner materials and non-textile materials, so it doesn't get stinky. We've got a inside pocket here for wallet, knickknacks, headphones, those little things. That's super easy access. Love that. Definitely going to keep it. And then on the back here, we've got like a laptop sleeve, which works well. I've reinforced the top edge with some banner, but it just kind of like flops around a little bit. So it's super easy to like get the laptop in there. So that works well, keeps it nice and protected. So I want that to sit nice and snug. Another thing I love about this is these. I actually use this so much. Hence why I've got two carabiners on there. I'll probably separate those up. Maybe they'll go on two sides. Maybe we'll have one over here. I'm not sure. And then another thing I do with this is often just like hang a jacket or a jumper over here. So I'm thinking maybe we can like incorporate some kind of a strap to just like chuck a towel or a jacket or like an extra layer over. Because I don't want the bag to be like so freaking big that everything has to go inside it. Yeah, that's about it. I'm going to do all of it on this machine. We can all kind of do this stuff at home. We've taught thousands of people how to sew. A bunch of them have made bags like this, and all of it is done on your just regular old standard domestic sewing machine. Yeah, let's get on into it. These are some snazzy little banners we got from our local council. The awesome thing about banners is maybe that's not like the most exciting thing to put on a bag, but if we nest our pattern over here, if we just crop like this section, even like the textures on the hair here, once we crop these shapes out, we actually get a really, really sick composition of like textures, shades, colors, even like, all those highlights on the shirt. There's such nice textures in there. The hair, so gonna have a bit of fun with that. And then the other banner we've got, this one's super fun. Like how fucking cool is that? It's just like nice tones, super geometric. I don't know if anyone remembers that Gaudier film clip, but this reminds me of that. So definitely going to use these lines and textures in here. So we'll pair those two together. And then I found these when we were cleaning up the other day. Someone dropped these off to get upcycled. Some old Adidas Trackies. They've got like tears and things through them, so they're a bit beaten down, but obviously definitely be using that. Might try and use this pocket as well and see if we can try and incorporate that triple strip. I'm thinking maybe we could run it around the base, maybe up the strap, but we'll see how we go. All part of the process. We don't need like a clear plan right now. We're just going to dive into it, start cutting stuff. So here is the pattern. We've got the front panel and the back panel. So yeah, front panel red, and then that's going to come over like this. It's going to be quite a lot bigger. It's taller. It's probably a good 5 centimeters wider. And then we're going to make this base not substantially chunkier, but this is going to come up a little higher in here. So this one tucks in quite quickly, which the issue with this bag is it's quite narrow. We don't get a lot of like volume out here, which was the learning with the first pattern. All right, let's start cutting. So if we look at our bag, it's going to be something like what the front looks like. So the top part of this hood and the bottom part of that front panel are going to be like our main hierarchy. They're the bits that we're going to see when we look at the piece. So I always like to start my process by figuring out what our main point of hierarchy is. Like when you look at the bag, what's the first thing that you see? And that's what we'll start with now. And then everything else will build around it. What we don't want to happen is to like get a really sick piece of banner like this, you cut it out and then realize that it's just on the back of the bag and is in like a really low hierarchy spot. So priorities first, might try and get a contrast of some light and dark shades for the front. Dope. That looks pretty good. So this has already got a seam allowance in it. So makes it nice and easy to trace and cut out. Boom. That is a sexy looking front panel. I don't know about you guys, but there's something so therapeutic about cutting. Alrighty, so that is our front panel piece, and then that's what the back looks like when they fold over. I've got this kind of contrasting greeny, turquoisey, lime, whatever you call that. And then these two orange bits here give it a little bit of symmetry. So hopefully that'll kind of offset this asymmetry. On top of that, we've got this strap. So that's going to just pop out of here like that and loop all the way around to the other side. And then these little offcuts just had really nice colors on them. So I think I might cut a strap out of here just so that we get a bit of some more color in there. So piece those together like this. So that'll connect onto that strap there. Cool. This looks like it needs a little bit more length, but we can add some on. So one thing to think about when we're using these more industrial materials is it's really nice to bring in a little bit of texture, something that's got a bit of a contrast to it. So those colors actually go together really well. So as much as all these patterns look really good, it's probably a little bit too industrial for my vibe. I like things that are, a little bit more textural, some different patterns and things going on. And I have this shirt that has this silly little smiley face on it. So I'm thinking I might do like a couple of big eyeballs and then like a goofy as smile here, and then just applique them onto here and here before we stitch them onto the other panels. So I'm going to draw on the back of this. We're not going to see this, so just kind of vibe that out, something like this. And we got a 1 centimeter seam here. That's roughly there. I don't want this to be perfect. I want it to be kind of a little goofy. Too silly? Guess we'll find out. So whenever you're cutting up a pair of pants, always cut up the inside seam. It's 99% of the time, it's the curved seam, which means when we butterfly these out, the whole pant leg will be one big flat sheet of fabric with just one cut. Boom, big old piece of material. So this is essentially making a patch. So this is essentially making a patch in the shape of an eyeball. It's got our loose eyeball sketched out on here. Got 2 layers of textile, the tracksuit material. And then the most important part, this material can be anything non-stretch. And what I mean by non-stretch is like, it's going to hold its shape. You can use things like banners and things like this, but the thinner you can get that without it moving around with the fabric, the better. As fail-safe, you could interface on the back of one of these layers, and that's going to stop it from warping as well. So you're going to start on a straight stitch, high stitch length, about 4 millimeters. And the trick here is because we're sewing a circle, we don't want to stitch all the way around and have this bunch up. So right from the get-go, going to be trying to keep that material nice and flat. Benefit of having a goofy looking eyeball is doesn't have to be straight. Kind of see it starting to bunch a little bit here. No good. So just put your finger on the left side of here and hold it there as you stitch, and that's going to force the material to go through with the needle. And then just going to do a little snifferoonie out the outside, super close to the edge without cutting the stitch is the tricky part. Oh, got it. That's bad. And then cut the middle out. Boom. Now chuck it onto a good old-fashioned zigzag stitch. I'm going to start where I buggered it up over there and just going to zigzag. Probably a little sillier than I anticipated. Maybe the contrast is a bit too bold. I think because these are a lighter tone and these are quite dark, it really sticks out. So I don't know if I'm really vibing that. So we're gonna try and dull the background down a little bit. I might stitch some other materials underneath to have a little bit of a like background. And then these can still be in the foreground, but they won't be like jumping out at you so much. Let's see how we go. So rather than trying to fix the top, I thought I'd just put the other components together first, get a better idea of what the whole piece is going to look like. So that is going to be the side panel. A bit sad we didn't get that out of that logo, but I'm thinking that the pinstripes will look better. Let's bring these two together. All right, so we went a little bit too goofy on the goofy smiley face. So I can't think of any good ways to add things to the underneath. I feel like this is too harsh. It's just like banner and then it's like, bam, big, goofy, green, dark face. So the plan at the moment is to keep making the other accessories that we're going to put on there anyway. So this is going to be like a little loop that comes around the side. This is the base. So that's going to sit underneath. This will fold over. So it'll have like a nice, so this will have like a nice puffy fold here. I'm still not loving how big a contrast that is. So TBC, we'll see. I'll keep stitching and I'll get back to when we've got some more stuff to show. So we've got the little loop to fold a jacket through. So that will add a little bit. That will kind of sit like this, but it's still just too much. I've decided it's because all of the lines in the background on the banner are like quite harsh and geometric, and then there's this sort of like awkward, goofy smiley face over the top. They're just too different. So I'm going to bridge them together. Piece of banner. This is a mesh banner, so it's got a bit of texture. So it's going to bridge those two materials together, but we've also got some similar tones. So it's not going to be like totally out of place. Nice to get a little bit of blue in there. And then I'm going to cut some like wavy shapes so that they're going to lay in between these two, just to break it up a little bit. It's roughly like this. Let's go like, so I'm just going to cut these out and then zigzag stitch them over the top of the banner before we chuck there, before we put the eyes on. So if you were doing this at home, another option would be like mesh or doing the same technique, but with some more textiles. The goal is just to bridge the two layers together visually. All right, let's see how we go. This is actually looking pretty good. Of that belt. Okay, that looks like total chaos, but this is better. We'll just stitch it together and I'll show you what it looks like after. So I'm just going to run a zigzag stitch along here, just fixing that edge down so it sits nice and flush. So that's our front piece, and this is the back piece. Just a bit more depth, a bit more texture, similar vibe. Cool, let's stitch them. So I'm going to use the same stitch. I'm going to use the same thread as the eyes just to tie them together a little bit. Good news, team. We're looking good. Now I'm just going to pop the mouth and the eyeballs on, and then we can start assembling. So much better. Now, I'm going to cut a lining piece for the inside here. It's going to be black and white because it's just a bit turbo on the outside at the moment. And then we'll have a sleeve on the inside here, which will be the same, which will be our laptop sleeve. So laptop sleeve in here, I'll tuck the sides in so that the laptop sits nicely and that the pocket doesn't flap around. Then we'll do a little pocket on there, attachment, ready to go. Pop that there. So this is the lining for the main hood. On the inside, it'll be black and white. And then this is going to be our laptop sleeve, like that. So this is the lining for the back panel. Sleeve's going to go in here. Just going to do a little stitch to stop this from flapping around. Going to stitch in here and then down there. So I might just clip where we come into. It's about like that. Come into there. That should keep it nice and taut. Same on this side. Chick, chick. Boom. So I can bring these two pieces together. That's the back panel. Give them a little clip and a stitch around the perimeter, making sure that we don't sew it so it's sitting like this, because these don't have any stretch. We want to sew it so that the materials curve, because if they're not curved properly, then this hood's going to curve up like that. No bueno. All right, it is about to come together. That's our outer panel, laptop sleeve. That folds over. You can see it sits nicely. It's not like curving up like this. That would be no good. Then this is our front panel. So for this one, we've got the lining, and then also just made a quick little pocket that'll just sit independently and flap around. So just got to sew those together as well. So that will sit like there, like that. That's going to look super nice. And then we've got our little attachments. So I think that might just sit there like that. Hey, then you can just chuck stuff through it. Maybe it won't work. Maybe it will. We got to try these things. And then that'll be our base. Strap, 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 strap. Maybe this is long enough. When we've got a big bag like this, actually don't need that much strap because the bag wraps around half your body already. That will probably do for that bit. And then, as promised, I might make a little section out of there so it's got a bit more color in there. Sick. So I'll just line those over. Yeah, there's that bit. See how long a strap we can get out of that. That looks good. Boom. Fine when you do a zigzag like this, either you backstitch over where you're about to cut, because if you cut that stitch open, your back stitch is long gone. It's not going to help you. So just cut around like this, and then we're going to have to trim this down later anyway. So boom, as a strap, pop that out that side. Nah, pop it out that side. This is going to be the lining for the strap. One of the lovely little bonuses of working with. So we can just use that as the template. Cut around here. And we're going to need a little more. We're still going to need a little more. Alrighty, piece those bits together. Go banner side up. Sometimes the feed dogs will tear a piece of banner or vinyl like this. Max stitch length. Boom. Now we can come through, trim them off. We got ourselves a strap. Wait for the longy. Alright, straps done. won't lie, I did use the industrial machine to bind the edges of those. It just takes way too long otherwise. We've got a pre-assembly for the front, pre-assembly for the back. We have all of our components. Now we're just going to sew them all together. Sounds pretty simple when you say it like that. First step is we've got to attach the straps to our back panel. So I've made this mistake twice, which is one of the rare times where it's not right sides together. So this is the back piece we're going to attach it on, and this seam's going to come out. So when we're nesting it on the back, it's wrong side to right side, like that. And then this one will be, and this is just a holding stitch, so we don't need to stress about it too much. A sexy piece of purple and green, that's putting it domestic through its paces. Didn't like that at all. Did not like that. Gonna be okay, my friend. Needle got unthreaded. Sorry, buddy. Sorry. It's gonna get thicker than this, but you're gonna be okay. Boom. Give them a trimmerini. This has been a mission. This has been a mission. Bloody stitched this in the wrong way. The little jacket loop testing, prototyping, bedazzlement. We're gonna have a whole lot of chunky seam here because it's where both the front panels are going to join and the base panel. So this is chunky as, and I just sewed this in the exact same spot. So it either needs to go lower, which I don't think is going to work. So it's going to have to come higher. The other tricky part with this is I want it to sit flat like that. So it's kind of like this, but because this seam is going to tuck in, it means we've got to rotate it 90 degrees or like reflect it 90 degrees. So it's going to be more like that, which should work. Only one way to find out. Fingers crossed. Boom. Next. Okay. So. Maybe that's okay. And then over here, we're going to have, this is like little D-ring that we make. You obviously don't need to have a recycled one. So we made these from, like, the black in there is from, in Melbourne, you get like a 4-pack of beer or soda or something in a can, and it comes with these little plastic 4-pack holders. So they're made from HDPE, high density polyethylene, which is absolutely banging for domestic recycling, sorry, because its melting temperature is like 160 degrees or something. Like, you can technically do it with like a sandwich press. If you do that, don't use your sandwich press again. And also make sure you're doing it in a ventilated area because melting plastic is bad for you. And then the blue parts are from, oh, that side's nicer. The blue parts are from when we had a cafe, which was only a couple months ago. So we ran a zero waste cafe in the front of our studio here for like 4 years. And we couldn't find a way to get alternative milks like oat and soy and stuff without packaging. So we opted to just recycle them. Best of a bad situation. Wouldn't say that color scheme goes magnificently, but that's what we've got for now. When you've got a real tight seam like this and you're connecting something, particularly with the webbing or woven fabric, it's a good idea to just singe the edges or do a tack holding stitch in here. Actually, I might just do that. That'll be better. Both won't hurt. I put this D-ring through the ringer, carry like my water bottle and stuff on it. So that's just going to reinforce it. So it's not all sitting in this lip. We're going to run a binding over there. That will definitely hold now. I'm going to go and use the industrial machine to bind the top of that. Don't tell anyone, please. Like I said, you can do it on a domestic, and we're used to it. It just takes a little longer, but getting hungry. Boom. Let's do a little one. So we put a couple little snips in here earlier. To find the middle of this, you can just fold that over, line the top edges up like that. What you're actually lining up is the circumference of this edge. So that can be your reference point, making sure that all of those line up. Fold it out to the center, give it a sniff, half of whatever your seam allowance is, and then which side looks better? We probably want Adidas on the front. You can start to assemble on the domestic, promise, pinky promise. 1 centimeter seam allowance, go 2.5 mil straight stitch. First part here is pretty straightforward. Hey. Yo. Let's go angle number 2. So under here, we're going to hit that curve. So we're going to keep a 1 centimeter seam allowance. You don't want to stretch this. You want to bunch this side up rather than pulling this side out, particularly if you've got stretchy materials like that tracksuit that's under there. We're going to come back and put some relief cuts in that corner. Come back for side number 2. Coming into the corner, this one's a bit trickier because this panel is stiff. So we don't want to manhandle the under side too much. Whoopsie days. So this is going to hit that. And this seam will be way too thick once we put that back panel on. So I'm going to pull this back off and put it back to where I originally had it, which is a bit frustrating, but you get that on the big jobs. That's why we hadn't trimmed that just in case. Stoked about that decision. Can't win them all. I don't know why, but I just prefer these over seam pickers. Maybe it's because seam pickers always break on me and I have to buy a million of them. Little snips, trusty old snips. Get them resharpened at the knife shop. No, not really, I haven't done that. But I wonder if they would do it. So down there, which is actually where we freaking want it anyway. So stoked about that. Back in we go for take 3. That's going to fold over. Bingo. Now let's see if we can sew through all that. It's still going to be pretty thick. See how we go. Sound effects help here. It's better. Piece of cake. Add a few more layers in there. No dramas. All right. Quick little test. How's that corner looking? Get our relief cuts in there. We'll fix this bubbling. Yeah, could be worse. That works. Not bad. Not bad. Could definitely be worse. So that corner is looking pretty tidy. That one will be looking like something. Who knows? All right. It's enough fun. Put it on the outside. So that's our back panel. Got a little snip in there. This is our front pre-assembly. We're just going to right sides together. So same, line up those 2 snips here. Repeat the process. Might get a bit fiddly, hey. Ooh, this is tight. Almost broken needle. Doing very well, my friend. Very impressed. You were just waiting for a compliment. There we go. Come on. Well done. Love that, did ya? Sorry, guys, I don't want to alarm you, but we might have a bag. One more crucial stitch. Nothing goes dramatically wrong. Deep breaths. Wonder how it's going to look. This is your friend. Take that off. More foot. Wish me luck, team. Fingers crossed. That's not a good noise. I'm so sorry. So, for context, this is our inner back pocket. That's our front access pocket. The tricky part is these seams, joining those together. So you've got to kind of cut that, pull it back, but have gone together really well. Well done. Now I'm just going to bind them. Almost there. Just got to do a flipperoo. Usually find doing one corner works well, and then you bring the second corner in. Push those corners out. All right, they look good. A hole for the closure. Check that's actually in the middle. Bang a fidlock on there. I don't know how you guys go with actually finishing a project, but when I do get there, it usually takes me a while to warm up to it. It's rare, for me at least, to finish a project and turn it out and be like, mad, so stoked. Usually I'll look at it and be like, is that it? Is that it? Yeah. You got to sleep on it, I find. Have a good nap. Come back the next day. New day, new bag. We should have done this before. Should have worn shorts. Should have worn shorts. Definitely should have done this before. Actually, maybe it is. This is it. Final reveal. Will it bag? Feels like a bag. See how much stuff we can get in there. Laptop, check. Notebook, check. Headphones, check. What else we got in here? This deodorant. It's still heavy. How's it look?